Batman the Night, issue 8, Chip Zdarsky writing with Carmine DJ Domenico on the art. And this is 8 of 10, so we're getting nearish the end of this story. This one, it has a Bruce kind of paranoid that someone's been sabotaging his training around the world, and he's just leaving this one woman that he's been working with to go to whoever he's got next. And it turns out it's this guy that he wants to help train his mind with, right? Because his body's ready, he's done all the fighting, he's done all the jumping off buildings and the cat burglar stuff and all that.
Yeah.
But he goes to this character, Daniel something or other, who is like one of the smartest men on earth, and it's all about training his mind to be ready as well. The idea that he's still too distracted by his fear and his anger and all that stuff, and he wants to get rid of that. Which, as this character puts it later, is you kind of essentially came to me to become a sociopath. And obviously it doesn't work, and I appreciated that. I appreciated that the story here was that he realized that he couldn't give up this part of him, that it was always going to be there. Yeah, he acts tough as Batman, he acts very cold and uncaring, but
at the end of the day, he saw that scared little boy in the alley.
Yeah.
And that's what he has to overcome to hit the next level.
Not that none of it's useful though, because it does, like, part of this is it teaches him how to ignore pain. It basically convinces his mind that he doesn't feel any pain, so we get a little bit of that going on. So there's some interesting ideas kind of sprinkled throughout. The bigger stuff in this issue though is that he's convinced that Anton is the one who's been sabotaging his stuff. But then it turns out there's a bit of a twist here, because Anton shows up and he's like trying to warn Bruce, and Anton's like already been hurt, and he lays there in pain, dying. And it turns out there's this other character who's been following them, who's been like wanting to deal with them. And I was like, oh god, please don't be Ghostmaker. that was my thing.
Ghostmaker's in this book.
I saw him on a rooftop. I did see that. Are they going to swerve us here and say that Ghostmaker's Anton?
Yes, I fully believe that's where it's going, because
it feels like they might be.
Yeah, because it feels like Zdarsky's making a big deal of with the Sky Spider, that the person that Anton before took her other scarf, and when you see him with the mask on at the end, it's very Ghostmaker.
I did notice that.
So yeah, so I was like, oh man, so Anton's following him around, but I did like the swerve that we got, because what it leads to.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because we see someone that looks like Ghostmaker, like it's really small in a panel earlier on, which is why I thought it was going to be Ghostmaker that was following them. It turned out it's this other character, this new character, called Distill. So, but Batman uses the other guy's cape here. It's a red cape, but he uses it like a cape here, so you get some sort of proto Batman type action as he's using it to shield himself from the knives that he's getting thrown at him and stuff.
Yeah, as much as I dislike the Batman tropes, I do like a good, this is why he wears the cape, right? And it's like to help stop bullets and knives, because it's Kevlar lined or whatever. I always like that, there's Batman's very utilitarian. So the fact that here, this is why he uses it to help guard against the knives, I think is a cool touch.
Yeah, and this fight, with the still takes place in the rain. They're on a cliff's edge. There's lightning in the background. Obviously, they probably go too far to make it dramatic. It's got every trick in the book to make it feel dramatic and epic. But it's not a bad fight by any means. The art's good. Domenico does action very well and how it flows. But of course, Bruce makes this choice that he's not going to be a killer. He goes, he grapples him when he's going over the cliff. He ends up falling anyway, but not because Bruce doesn't try. But he lands on like a sort of elevated part, so he doesn't actually get killed anyway. And Bruce comes down and has a bit of a word with him, as it will. But he says, "I am the right hand man of the one who would save the world," and I'm like, you've got a very League of Assassins look to you, dude.
Weird.
Yeah, so it builds up. He disappears as the waves crash around him because they're down at the water at this point. And Bruce is pissed because the guy he was with was showing him like photoshopped images of dead Alfred and stuff to like scare the shit out of him. But ultimately, this is building up to get off the train with Ra's al Ghul. But what's interesting though is that he's back with Anton, and Anton is like they've kind of like Bruce is like, you know, I still not approve of like what you did to like some of the previous masters. I'm not approving of killing. But there's kind of like an understanding, and that they're both still going after. Like, at the very least, Anton did try to warn them. He's not just some killer. He's not just a killer. Anyway, there is more complex layers to him.
Right. And the still has been following him since they left the sensei in the Himalayas. So so it's been a long time. So Roz has had his eye on these two since at least then, which we kind of were feeling through all those issues ago.
Yeah. So it says they're off to see Ra's al Ghul at the end, which is fun. This being a stealth backdoor origin of Ghostmaker, like it actually works well enough in how it's happened, but on principle, I'm angry at it.
yeah. Don't make me like Ghostmaker, Zdarsky. Okay.
I mean, I would never say I liked Anton though. I would say he worked well enough in the story.
No.
I never really liked him though.
Right, but I feel like the reason I didn't like Ghostmaker when he was introduced in Tynan's run was that he was because Batman. And here with Anton, there's the one-upmanship that you can see from the time they first meet that makes him a much more compelling character when you see not just his face or whatever, but when you understand who he is. And we still don't know his full story, his backstory, whatever. But the fact that he's this foil still for Bruce, even as they're training, and that we can get to the point where he's introduced and it doesn't feel like he's in our face, because he's not here, right? He was gone for all the last issue. That was the Zatanna stuff, right? And there's no mention of Anton in that one.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I still don't really like Ghostmaker that much as a character, but funny enough, I think I said back when they introduced Anton that it felt a bit Ghostmaker-y because he's got this rival, and that's kind of what we knew about Ghostmaker. So it's kind of funny that we never just guessed that, he's just going to turn out to be Ghostmaker.
Yeah.
Do you know what I think it is? I think I never realized at that point or remembered that Ghostmaker, we didn't know what his name was, so we didn't have like a there's a mystery. There's a mystery to solve about who he is.
Someone went to call him something, and it did start with an A. I remember that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Well,
but so I'm not as annoyed as I should be, but I still don't like Ghostmaker that much. But here I feel like Zdarsky's using him well, because he is kind of that foil without being like an outright villain. You know what I mean? Like, I totally feel there's another turn coming, that he's going to do something to mess with Bruce around Roz. There's still 2 issues left. We still know that they aren't on good terms when we first meet him in the Tynan stuff. Because there was that whole "you stay out of my city." They have like a deal. So, but
yeah. So the issue's done well enough. It's still not my favorite. I think like these last 2, I didn't like as much as the couple before that. I think that one in the forest where they had that standoff where Anton wanted to kill the guy. That was the peak of this book for me so far.
That was really good. I did like the Zatanna stuff just because it was, to me, it was very Temple of Doom-esque in that it's Bruce realizing that there's a whole other world out there and that he is completely small and insignificant in comparison. And I like that aspect of it. Plus, I'm a sucker for Zatanna. Not as much as Connor, but,
Yeah.
But you're right. That one in the forest with the marksman still is the top notch of this book.
Yeah. Like, I do like this fleshing out of his training time before he became Batman, like, finally. And I can't just say I'm mad about Anton, because Anton's essential for that forest issue, so he needs to exist.
Right.
But I thought Anton was someone, when I didn't realize it was going to be Ghostmaker, which I'm pretty sure he is now. I was expecting him to be dead by the end of the story or something. Right. Just that's why Anton's never shown up, but he has, because he's Ghostmaker. So
it was really seeing him at the end of that, at the end of this issue with that mask on, and I was like, wow, he's definitely Ghostmaker, isn't he? So, but maybe there's another swerve coming. Who knows? Maybe he gets Lazarus pitted, and he does die. I don't know.
Sure. All right. What are you giving Batman the Night issue 8?
I'm gonna give this one an 8.5.
I'll probably just go with a straight 8 on this, I think. Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. It just doesn't quite pop in the same way in terms of like narrative conflicts in the same way that a couple of my more favorite issues of this book have. You know, the training in particular didn't seem as exciting or as interesting as some of the other issues, but you know, that's okay.
Yeah.